In a world on the brink of chaos, one dragon must face the impossible. Burdened by his doubts, haunted by the shadows of the past, Drake is called to lead, but can he rise to meet his destiny? The Queen lurks in the darkness, her power growing, her influence spreading. Drake must gather his strength, trust his allies, and prepare for a battle that could decide the fate of them all. Looking into space, all I could think about was what to do next, when to do it, and how to go about it. I knew as well as anyone that I had to find a way to end this battle. The problem was my own inadequacies as a leader. Everyone put their faith in me, but I lacked the strength to carry their wishes and make them a reality. I wasn't sure what I should do. Azazel was gone. I wished she wasn't. I hadn't spent much time getting to know her beyond her skills in battle. She often tried to talk to me about normal things, but I only thought of the Queen. That was my focus, always the Queen. Not in a good way, but as this lurking pain I tried to avoid without much success. John was out. His healing would take time. Apollo was gone, probably training himself to exhaustion, trying to ease his guilt. Thatch and Luke were sulking somewhere. Draco said he was seeking out an old friend. And Miss Gulvris? She kept giving me sideways glances, pretending she wasn't watching. I noticed. I wanted to confront her and ask why she acted that way, but I wasn't in the mood to bother. Too many thoughts swirled endlessly in my head, and I realized I was close to breaking. A loud slam echoed in the distance. With a sudden flip of her wings, Miss Gulvris flew off toward the mountains. I can't let you escape. I need to know. I launched after her, pushing myself faster. She neared the jagged mountain peaks and swung around a ridge. I followed with bated breath, navigating the rocky outcrops that rose like twisted teeth from the earth. The king's voice boomed in my head. Return to the farm and help with the fires. Drake, come back. Don't fall into her trap. Victory will come in time, not through defeat. I heard Draco's words clearly, but I was too stubborn to stop. I was faster, but navigating these mountains at such speed was dangerous. She flew low, weaving through ravines like a blade cutting through butter. I clipped my right wing against the rock wall and pulled it in, struggling to maintain my speed. She was slipping away. Drake, Draco's voice returned, firm but calm. Return. I hesitated, then let out a frustrated breath. She was too far ahead now, lost in the darkening sky. Fire flickered from my mouth as I exhaled, a speck of flame dancing in the air. Next time, for sure. I turned back toward the farm. Below me, Luke's wings spread wide, raining water over the smoldering fields. The fire was reduced to small embers now, with only a few spots of flames left. I landed and shifted into my human form, joining Thatch and Luke as we surveyed the damage. The once cold air was now thick with heat and the scent of burning leaves. Damn that woman! Luke spat, glaring at the charred remains of the crops. She's tormenting us, Thatch muttered, kicking the dirt. I nodded. Yes, she's toying with us. Drake, Thatch asked, her gaze steady. Do you think she was right? About Azazel? I clenched my fists, the weight of her question sinking in. It's possible. The real question was whether we could get her back. The Queen held all the cards now. We had to play to her rhythm, and that wasn't a prospect I liked. How did everything fall apart so fast? Duncan arrived later, his expression resolute despite the devastation. Without a word, he began organizing us to salvage what we could from the damaged crops. We worked in silence, trying to fix what was left. That night, we gathered in the living room. Apollo returned unexpectedly, looking tense. I tried to reach you telepathically, but you didn't answer. I looked at him, guilt rising in my chest. I was distracted. Apollo's gaze hardened. Drake, you need to do better if we're going to defeat her. Luke and Thatch looked at him in surprise, but I nodded, accepting the rebuke. I hear you, but I can't do much from here. We should be combing the mountains for her now. I want that too, I replied, but your father advised caution. Apollo stood abruptly, his eyes locking onto mine. Who runs this group? You or my father? Thatch reached for him. Apollo, you can't... He waved her off and stormed out of the room. The tension lingered in the air. Duncan, trying to ease it, turned to me. My wife isn't here. She's still shaken, but she'll be all right. I nodded, exhaustion pulling at me. I needed rest. Apollo was likely off training again, punishing himself to grow stronger. Meanwhile, I just wanted to avoid looking like a fool. For the first time in my life, I had a real challenge, and I wasn't sure I was up for it. The next morning, Draco found me. "Thank you for teaching me patience and humility, sire. I've thought a lot about it, and I know now that neither victory nor defeat is guaranteed, but our time will come." "Young dragon," I said, "your destiny is to defeat the queen, but don't rush. You'll know when the time is right. A true warrior defends until the moment of victory." His words stuck with me. I kept replaying the events of the chase, of her slipping away from me. I couldn't shake the sense that I was being pulled into a trap, led by invisible strings. Back at the farm, we discussed our next move. "We need more recon," I said to the group. Thatch, Luke, and I sat around a table, John bedridden nearby. Thatch suggested, "Have you spoken with the villagers? They might know something about the ghost. After all, the rumors affect them too." "Good idea," John added weakly. "They could have seen something but are afraid to speak up." I nodded, the plan forming in my mind. "All right, Thatch and I will go. Luke, you and Apollo scout the mountains." Luke shot Apollo a challenging look. "Think you can keep up?" "You wish," Apollo muttered coldly. I sighed, trying to keep the peace. Luke volunteered. "Thatch and I will gather intel from the villagers." Before setting out, I sent a message to the Order of Dragons, seeking any information they had on Garth. He was working for the Queen, but if I could find him, maybe I could turn him against her. The village was quiet, the cold wind cutting through the streets as we asked the locals for any information on the ghost. Hours passed, and the answers were all the same. Rumors, nothing concrete. Eventually, Thatch and I sat down for a break. She chatted lightly, trying to keep the mood positive, even making jokes about my future. Marriage, children, the usual. I couldn't bring myself to care about that right now. My mind was on my disciples, John, Luke, Apollo, Thatch, and Azazel. I couldn't leave her in the Queen's clutches. That's why I had to bring her back. As we were walking back, a pair of men approached us. One tall, one short, both strange in appearance. The tall one, dressed in a green hoodie, sneered at me. "The ghost knows you're here. Be prepared." I barely had time to react before they vanished around a corner. "She's got more supporters than we thought," Thatch muttered, scanning the empty street. I nodded grimly. 2 weeks. She's given me a deadline." The farmers on the southern side were less forthcoming, dismissing the strange occurrences as pranks. But their fear was palpable. They told stories of half-devoured livestock, strange gusts of wind, and whistling sounds in the dead of night. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Her influence was growing, and I knew only I could stop it. The Queen's shadow loomed larger with each passing day. As the villagers whispered in fear and my companions prepared for battle, I felt the weight of my responsibility pressing down on me like never before. This wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about saving everyone. Next time, I wouldn't let her escape. The battle is far from over, but hope remains. With courage, with strength, with unity, they will face the Queen. But will it be enough to defeat her? Only time will tell.